So let's hop into Ads Manager. So, I'm assuming that you have Business Manager set up and you have a Facebook ad account set up, okay? So we have our images, we have our copy. Where do we start? Now, you probably have seen these videos before. In fact, I guarantee you've seen a Facebook ad setup video in the past, right? There's a few things, though, that when I break this down, there's a few things that videos usually miss out on, okay? The very first thing that I want to talk about when we create a campaign here, we'll talk about some of the other things, but people, I've done 1,500 launches one-on-one with clients, and the thing that I always see is people like getting this first part so messed up. Now, they'll click on traffic. I'm getting 1 cent clicks. I'm getting 100 people to see my offer, and I'm only paying a penny a click. That's because they're using traffic. Look, guys, Facebook has categorized people. They know exactly who you are. They know so much about you. It's probably terrifying. They know who's clicking on, who's click happy, okay? They know who's click happy. They click on everything. You put a picture of a bunny and they'll click on it, okay? Same with engagement. They know who's going to click all the smiley faces, the hearts, all the emojis, and share and do all that. All right? So if you want a lot of traffic for really, really cheap, then just go with traffic. The problem with any of these, though, with traffic, awareness, engagement, is that they're not necessarily going to convert into like what our desire is, right? Like our desired goal. If we're trying to make sales, we should go with sales because we're trying to make a sale. This also goes for conversions as well. Traffic does not necessarily mean you're going to get conversions. In fact, it's usually quite the opposite. These are just people that are, once again, just click happy. They just click on everything. They don't buy anything. They don't actually do anything. They just click and leave. Okay? That's pointless. Same with engagement, right? Don't try to get sales. Don't try to get conversions or leads from traffic or engagement or awareness, right? Just stop with that. What you want to do is you want to focus on sales, okay? We almost 9.999 times out of 10, we want to go with sales. Every time, we almost always want to go with sales. Leads would probably be that 0.1%. Sometimes we want to go after leads. This is a lead form where there's no offer necessarily. It's just, essentially they click on the ad and a box pops up and says, enter your email address, right? The problem with this one, a lot of real estate agents do this, or maybe I've seen landscaping companies do this, or they're just trying to get people to leads that their sales guys can call, right? The problem with this is that the lead quality is super low. Once again, Facebook knows who fills out forms. They know who's going to opt into a form, and they can get them for very cheap, okay? The problem is that these leads, once again, are very low quality. Why is that? The reason for that is because these people don't have what we've talked about in all these other previous videos. They don't have trust, respect, or rapport. They have no idea who our business is. They have no idea who we are. They probably haven't even seen our face yet because they haven't visited our funnel yet. They haven't watched any videos on us. They haven't spent time with us. They have no idea where our business is even located. And if we put where our business is located, it might be too far away from them, and they still fill it out. And then they realize, or you realize, that you're not going to drive that far out. Or there's so many anomalies that can come with this. I almost always, again, just go with sales. Just go with sales. And it's not just sales. They changed the name on this, okay? It used to be called conversions, okay? I like conversions better because it wasn't as misleading as sales, because not everyone's selling something. If you're just trying to get, if you're a real estate agent or a landscaper, you're not necessarily trying to get sales. You're trying to get leads, right? Go with sales because, again, when we go with sales, it's optimizing. Facebook is optimizing based on what we tell the pixel or your data set to do. And we're going to get into that in just a second here. But essentially, when people click on your ad, they're then going to go to your offer, right? And your offer does all the heavy lifting, okay? Free, they first see this ad, beginner-friendly electric guitar lessons. Okay, yes, I want 4 free guitar lessons to learn how to play the electric guitar. So the person clicks on that link, and what do? They're taken to a page that talks about electric, make sure we would add in electric guitar lessons, and then this page right here, this page does all the heavy lifting. It tells them what they get and why they should opt in, and you know, like everything we've talked about in this entire training, right? So that essentially then, when they come in and they click this button right here and they opt in and they give us their email address, we then essentially tag them. It's essentially like tagging this person that they opted in, right? We do this with a Facebook pixel, with a data set, or with our conversion API, right? So we're telling Facebook, hey, we got exactly what we wanted. So when the person comes in and they enter their email address, and then they're taken to the first video, right here, we're telling Facebook, this is exactly what we want. We want to get people to this page. If we get people to this page, we then know that that Facebook, first off, they did their job and we got exactly what we wanted. But if they don't get to this page, we're just losing our money, right? Like we have to get them here in order to get into the program, in order to get into our sales page, yada, 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 right? So when they get to this page, we say, hey, Facebook, where did I go here? Hey, Facebook, you just gave us a conversion. We just converted. We just got what we wanted, which is just to get the person's email address, to get the lead. If you're selling something, it would be after they purchase it, right? And after they purchase it, we say, hey, Facebook, we made a sale. We got what we wanted, okay? With these other things here, Facebook's giving you what you want. Just a lot of traffic, just a lot of smiley faces, just a lot of junk leads that actually aren't going to convert at all. So enough said. It needs to be said, go with sales, okay? That's long and drawn out, but now you know the reasoning behind it, and now you will always go with sales. Let's move on. It's not going to be as long for the rest of this, but again, I just want to give you as much depth as I possibly can. This ain't YouTube. This is a full course. This is what I do all day, guys. So I hope the passion is coming out on the video. So next thing, Advantage Plus. They've been pushing this Advantage Plus and all this AI, whatever. Guys, go with the manual setup. Go with the manual setup. I'm not even going to tell you, I'm not even going to go into it. Go with the manual setup, okay? Here we are. Now, again, there's different people coming into this. If you've never set up a Facebook ads account before, I'm assuming that you probably have watched a couple videos on how to set up ads in the past, okay? So this might look somewhat familiar. I'm not going to go into as much detail other than a couple main points here, okay? So first and foremost, we have our campaign. Let's just give this a quick name. Guitar Lessons, right? And then we can come over here to the special categories. Now, I do need to touch on this. If you are in any of these categories, it is extremely important that you just select off on which one that you are in. If you are in credit, and read through these, okay? If you are even slightly close to any of these, make sure that you select them. If you have anything to do whatsoever, if you even talk about real estate on your page, on your landing page, on this page right here, or the first page that we were looking at, the opt-in page, if you are even slightly talking about real estate, click housing. If you're slightly talking about credit, if you're slightly talking about, the reason why I say slightly is because if you're even near any of these, the Facebook algorithm, yeah, it's smart, but it's dumb as a box of rocks when it comes to trying to figure out if you're following the rules or not. They will ban you so fast. Bitcoin and crypto is a great example. I back in the few years ago, I was making some little Bitcoin t-shirts, right? And it was just like, it was to get, it was my front end offer. It was a free plus shipping where I would just give away a free t-shirt and it said Bitcoin on it, right? Well, Facebook flagged that and they said, hey, you can't do crypto. And I had to get approval for the crypto and all this. And the Facebook managers finally pushed it all through. And they said, yep, it's just t-shirts, Facebook, it's okay. What did they do? They came back once again and banned me again. Because the Facebook algorithm is not smart enough to figure out if you're doing something wrong or not. So when I say, if you're even near any of these, just click on whichever one you're in, okay? If you're not in any of those categories, even better. You have more options and everything usually is easier. So if you're trying to think of like a niche or something or like an offer to sell, try to stay out of these. It makes everything easier. Enough said. All that should be like that. We don't want to use the CBOs or Advantage campaign budgets. Keep this off. That might be for later if we're scaling or something like that. So let's just hit the next button here. Let's hop into the ad set level. So I'm just going to leave that named like that to start. Next, website. Yes, we are sending people to a website. So make sure that website is selected. I don't know, like, unless you're doing anything down here fancy, but you're going to learn, guys, when I go through this, look, like, Facebook likes yelling at you. There's a lot of yelling going on. There's all these, like, your ads might get 0 conversions. And then they suggest this, and then this little thing pops up. I just forget it. Keep it plain and simple. We want to keep this plain, simple, and basic, okay? Basic. And look, like, they may say, like, you're not going to, like, even, like, for example, this. Advertisers who set up the conversion API along with saw a 13% decrease. Like, there's all these, like, these little things, like, and yes, like, of course we need the conversion API, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but there's all these little things that going on. Look, like, when you're running $20,000 a day in Facebook ads and you start testing some of this stuff, like your increments are getting better by like 1 or 2%. Like, they don't even, like, fluctuate that much with the actual internal settings. Like, I just run, like, I run so many ads that I just keep it to the basics, guys. Don't overdo it. Don't overthink it. Like, if your ad, again, and the reason why I say that, I'm going to back that up for a second. The reason why I say that is because if your ad is good, right, and you did your research, all this copy, like, we know that this is a good running ad because it's been running for a long time and the copy is very similar and we have a very similar video or very similar image, right? If the copy is good and the image is good and we get it in front of the right eyeballs, the rest doesn't really matter that much. I'm just going to, like, it's just, the rest really doesn't matter. Like, if we have those things correct, it'll do great. And here's one big takeaway. The only thing that Facebook ads, that you need to understand with Facebook ads, just get the click. Just get the click. There's nothing else that you need. Like, there's nothing else that the Facebook ad does. It gets a person off of Facebook and puts them on your website or your funnel, right? That is it. That's all we're trying to do. So do not overcomplicate this. I feel like I'm yelling. Don't stop yelling at me. Next, let's talk about the pixel here for a second. Now, guys, like, I'm not going to get all into this. If you need to learn how to set up a Facebook ad pixel, I would suggest just hopping on YouTube and learning how to do that, okay? It's not a tough process. In fact, nowadays, we don't even use the pixel anymore. It's actually pretty much obsolete. Instead, we use something called conversion API. And I'm not going to get all in the details of this, but essentially, the pixel itself is a piece of code that you copy and paste on your funnel, right? And then every time somebody, basically makes an action, like they opt in or they view something or they buy something, it basically, your website then tells Facebook, hey, we just got a sale. Your website says, hey, we just got an opt-in. And it sends that back to Facebook. And then Facebook then basically optimizes your ads to get smarter and smarter and find more people that look very similar to the people that purchased from you or that opted in, right? And we're not even talking about lookalike audiences or anything fancy. This is just standard pixel and conversion API, standard events, that sort of thing. Next, let's hop into the second piece here. And usually what I do in these setup videos, we have some other options in here, right? What I usually do is I skip over to the ad. Once I get past that pixel point, I just jump into the ad. We'll come back to this section in just a second, okay? So let's hop into the ad. I usually just name this like ad 1. You don't have to get all crazy and everything, as long as you can identify which ad it is later on, which one was working, which one wasn't. So ad 1, 2, and 3, right? So next, Facebook page. We just want to select our page and an Instagram account. If these are not here, you have to go into your business settings, okay? This little gear down here, and set that up. Again, I only have so much time to show you how to do this. So make sure that that is in there, and then come down here, and like here's one of these things like catalog, blah blah blah, Advantage Plus. Just forget it. Like, forget it. We just want a manual upload, and we just want to use a single image or video. We don't have to overshoot this and overthink this, right? So what do we want to do next? We want to actually get this ad created. So, man, the upload format all looks good. This all looks the same. And again, like, I'm blowing through this, guys, because this is, like, there's nothing you really have to change here. Leave everything as default. Next, we can put in the URL here, which we'll do in a second. This is where we want to add our media, though. But you see how I kind of like start at the top and I go down to the bottom? Easiest way to do this. So let's add an image here, and we're going to add in our guitar images. All right, we got them loaded in. Let's select the first one. I don't know if you saw that. I'm just going to go back to make sure I don't want to miss that. But essentially, we just upload them, click on the first one, and when I hit next here, here's another like sneaky thing kind of. They default a lot of these things to settings that we do not want. So the first and foremost, make sure these all say original. Original, original, original. Scroll down to the bottom, make sure there's nothing hidden down there. Guys, the Facebook Ads Manager is crazy. I've worked, I have launched people's ads in so many different countries, all over the place, and it is different all over the world. And then to make matters worse, they change things every single day. So if this video looks a little bit different than what you have, you're gonna have to improvise a little bit because I can't shoot videos every day. There's no way I could ever keep up with them. So that being said, the next options here, we want to pay attention to some of these. Expand image, like they're going to show you like what this kind of does. I shut all this stuff off. I just shut all this stuff off. I mean, you can play around with it if you want. The biggest one, do not have music on the background. Why on earth would we want music behind our image? This is a default. See how it says on by default? They do this to everyone. Over 50% of, that's great. But here's the thing. If we're selling, even if we're not selling guitar lessons, just think about this for a second. We're selling electric guitar lessons. What happened if there was classical music in the background, or a piano, or a violin? That would be awful. That would kill us. That would kill our conversion rates, right? We don't want that. We would never want that. So make sure that is off. Even if you're not running guitar lessons or instruments or anything like that, shut that off. I shut this off, and then I scroll down to the bottom, and then make sure that all these are off. And adjust, that doesn't matter. Adjust brightness, contrast, sure. Hit done. Hit done. Cool. See all these pop-ups. Typical Facebook land. So we got that. Very good. And we will have our text here. Okay, so the next thing is we want to set up this text. Now, what we want to do is come over back to GPT, and we want to grab our first one here. Now, again, guys, I want you to dress this up in a very specific way to where this copy needs to match that image, okay? So if we're selling 3 different things here, you'll run into this, right? So this first one we did electric guitar. The second one we did acoustic. The next one we did rock and metal. We got to make sure that we match this copy up with that image. So if we're talking about electric guitar, we want to make sure, obviously, we're talking about electric guitar stuff here, okay? And we have these little emoji things. Don't overdo with the emojis. See how this is actually pretty clean, because the last one we were looking at was pretty clean. But don't have 50,000 emojis in here, okay? One. Just do one at the top if you have to do any of them. This one's pretty clean, but you don't want 1,000 different emojis. It just makes the ad look super unprofessional and just junky. I think it just looks spammy and junky. So keep that out, okay? So we have our first piece of text in. Now, you can add, a lot of people don't know this, but you can actually add in additional text options. This makes it a little bit more dynamic. It also, we could just put in, for example, and you could put in this one, right? Now, I wouldn't recommend this for this example because we're talking about acoustic here, but where am I? We could drop this in. So what's going to happen if we have 2 pieces of text and 1 image like this? It's going to rotate between these 2 pieces of text but show the same image, okay? And that's okay to do. If you're just setting this up for the very first time, I would recommend doing that, right? I would recommend doing that. But if we're heavily testing our ads, seeing which piece of copy works, what image works, that is not what we'd want to do. We'd want to run just 1 piece of text here and 1 image, okay? It's very important that if we're testing that to see, if you wanted to know which piece of copy worked, you're not going to be able to get a clean breakdown, okay? And on top of that, Facebook does not evenly spend ad spend across these 2. It's not like if you're running $50 a day, it perfectly spends 25 here and 25 here. So we're not going to know. If you're setting your ads up for the first time, though, we're just trying to get the clicks, get some traction, see if our offer works. We're not going to be optimizing our ads, guys, day 1, day 2, day 3. All right? We're not going to be messing around with our optimizations. we're going to be optimizing our offer. We're going to be optimizing our offer first, okay? You know, the ad, again, it just gets clicks. If the ad is getting clicks, guess what? The ad works, okay? The ad works. We can make the ad a little bit better, maybe by 1 to 3% better. But all the heavy lifting, all of the, you know, again, like so many people goof this up. So listen to this one point I'm making here. If you're getting clicks to this page and you're not getting sales, okay? You're not getting sales, you're not getting the opt-ins that you want, or the performance isn't good. You know, if your ad is, you know, and again, like what we can talk in you know, further down the line here. But if your ad is getting, let's just say, a click-through rate of 2% or higher, and again, we can break this down, you know, later on and how to find that. But if your ad's getting 2% or higher, that means it's doing its job. It's getting clicks. But if you're not getting sales, or you're not getting opt-ins, and it's just like not working in your favor, you want to focus your attention on where the ad is pointing to. So the ad points to this landing page right here. We want to focus our attention on this, guys, on this. So like maybe the headline isn't good, right? Maybe we have to change our copy around, or the button, or maybe we have to change the offer. And that's, again, like it's for another video. But we want to make sure that you know, we're focusing our attention on this page, because this is usually, almost always, is where it breaks. I mean, you can do, I mean, a pretty sloppy job on your, I mean, look at, like, this is not the greatest, prettiest ad, but it's very straight to the point. Beginner-friendly electric guitar lessons, 4 free lessons. Like, they know what they're getting, okay? Only people that are expecting 4 free guitar lessons are clicking on this, okay? So when they click on that and you take them here, there's a lot more that can go wrong, okay? If you are pitching rock and metal guitar lessons and you send them to an acoustic page, it's not going to do well. It's just not going to do as well. So fix this page first. We're just trying to get the click, guys. We're just trying to get the click. So you can add in multiple pieces of copy here. I'm not going to do it for this example, but when you're just starting out, I mean, go ahead, you can do that. We can close that because, you know, lovely AI and everything. You're just tripping over AI. I see AI more than I see, you know, Trump or whatever. Enough said. So we have our primary text in here, and that's going to go, and you can start to see this populate. And, you know, I'll break this down real quick too. And if you've never seen how this Facebook, like how a Facebook ad works really quick, the copy itself, let me just show you. Primary text goes right here, right? So that you can see more, you can actually see this preview here. But that top part right here is what people are going to see second. They're going to see the image first, followed by the text. So they're scrolling through their feed, they're going to see the image first, and then, oh, if they stop, which we want them to do, that's why we have like this really wild image, they stop, and then they click the see more button, and then maybe they read the copy and click, okay? So it usually goes in 2 parts like that. The image is number 1. That's the most important part. The copy is the second most important part. The copy basically backs up the image, okay? Same thing goes with the headline, which we're going to be doing next here. So we want a really good headline. And this is, usually they're looking at the image and then either the headline or the copy next, right? So basically it's just explaining, you know, they need a little bit more clarification before they click. So what we want to do then is for that headline, we want to go back to the ads library and we want to check out kind of like what other people are doing, okay? You know, and we could just say like, this is a 30-day super learning practice plan. Like, look at that, 30-day super learning practice plan. You know, we could grab something like that, you know, go to ChatGPT. I need 20 Facebook ad headlines like this. There you go. Pop, 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 pop. 30-day guitar hero. And now I'm going to say, now make them for training videos instead of 30 days. 4-step super learning practice plan. 4 essential videos to guitar mastery. And like look at these. They're all perfect, right? So you can grab one that you like. 4-step chord mastery plan. So ours is kind of like metal and rock that we're kind of going after. So 4 videos to rock and metal dominance. Like, I kind of like that. Dominance, it's like, you know, rock and metal dominance, right? Sure. Let's go with that. Again, you don't have to put a lot of effort into, really going through this when you grab something somewhat similar to what somebody else is doing. And we already kind of have the idea that it's working, right? So these are just examples. I'm using ChatGPT here, just examples. But you can do the same for your ads. Next, description. I usually leave this blank. Another thing let me just show you this quick trick here. You go to emoji, just grab some emojis, right? Go with star. I don't know. I picked this up on like a YouTube video for like years and years ago. But what I'll do is I'll put these stars in here. Where am I? I'm getting lost. I go in here, and you could also put this in your headline too. So you could do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like if you're ever doing like a free trial or something like that, or there we go. If you're ever doing like a product or something like that, you could just do like free metal pen, and there's like some stars in there, right? So like as you can see in the description here, or the headline here, see it kind of like almost maybe mimics like they're like reviews, right? Like hey, I got like 5-star reviews, like, so I don't know, you can play with that as well. Next, call to action. Learn more is obviously the default, and usually what I'd recommend is kind of stick with. You could try Shot More or some of these other ones. There's data points on this that you can Google search for. I just do learn more because everyone knows that button, learn more. So I usually just stick with that. So I just leave the call to action, learn more. Next thing we can talk about, create plus image. We can leave, our enhancements, which is just, what we had looked at before. That's like adding music to the background and whatnot. For the URL, let's hop into this. Now, I can't really do this because I'm like in a demo here. But if you're using a funnel builder or like GoDaddy or, I don't know, whoever you're using, make sure it's the live, the actual domain name. Like you see in like Funnel Visions here, there's actually like 2. There's one up here. And we have like split tests going on. Just make sure that you use like this main primary link. And then come over here and drop that in. Whether you Facebook. Now I'm gonna put that in. I'm gonna take it out in a second here, just because I don't want Facebook scanning this. Display link. You can put something in here if you want. Like for example, see how this says opt-in at the end? It's kind of like you don't want that because like you don't want everyone to see like Webby Funnels / opt-in, right? So you could just simply put in like Webby Funnels and just clean this link up, like webbyfunnels.com, like that, and then it's very clean. And then we can leave that stuff alone. Tracking, we always want at least website events, but we have a pixel that we need to set up, so that's why it's yelling at us here, which is valid. That is pretty much it for this page. Okay, that is pretty much it for this page. Now we can go on and on and on. We can talk about some advanced things, what have you. We have these previews in here. We can dress these up. For example, if we don't want these to show on Instagram and some other places, I'm gonna get into that here in just a second. We have one of the ads though created. So what I'll do here, guys, is I'll then click on these 3 dots. I'll go to we'll do a duplicate, quickly duplicate, just boom, just duplicates it right off the bat. Regular duplicate gives us options. So what we want to do is we want to put a 3 in here because, well, actually a 2 because we have a total of 3 ads. I usually run 3 different ones, guys, when I'm first doing a launch here. You don't want 50 of them. If your audience maybe is really small or something like that, then I would highly recommend doing more. We can get into that in like more advanced ad videos, but ad number 1, 2, and 3. We just want to make sure that they're labeled. And then ad number 2. Okay, you still sticking with me? I know this is a long video. So ad number 2. Everything is duplicated out. So what do? Well, everything is already there. All we have to do is just come on to the ad creative and delete our image. Delete our image and add in our second image. Okay? Image 2, right? This is talking about acoustic guitars. Okay, hit next. Original. That's exactly what we want. Now, as you can see, they added in the stupid music again. So let's get rid of that. Expand image. Shut that off. It's just, they sneak this stuff in. Like they so badly want music in the back of images. So we have that. And now instead of rock and metal, we want to talk about, acoustic guitars, right? So we come back to ChatGPT here. Great. Now do the same for acoustic guitars. Can't even spell, but it still figures it out. Watch. There it is. 4-step acoustic guitar, super learning plan, 4 essential 4 parts strumming process, like the same thing. But so you could use one of these once again, just showing you. So instead of rock and metal, might not want to be so hard. So let's grab 4 acoustic guitars, 4 ultimate acoustic skills, 4 videos to ultimate, yeah. So let's go with that one. We can drop that in. Again, example purposes, but spend some time with this. Make sure that this offer matches, this ad matches your offer, right? Make sure the ad matches your offer perfectly. Okay. Always preview your URL. Click this button right here. I'm not going to do it because I don't need Facebook continuously scanning my stuff, but preview that URL to make sure this URL works, right? I see so many people that put in a wrong link, they run ads, and then they waste a bunch of money because the link is dead. Don't do that. Don't do that. Oh, also with ad 2, make sure that you switch out the copy, right? I guess we could do that since we already have it written. So the acoustic guitar right here, we're going to drop that in right there. So we're just going to make sure it doesn't say ChatGPT. So there you go. So now we have our acoustic ones, right? And we could do add 3. Now I'm just using this obviously as examples. I have 3 different angles here, okay? One I'm talking about electric guitars, one I'm talking about metal, one I'm talking about acoustic, okay? When we run that to a page like this, we need our offer to be a little bit, not as specific, because if I'm talking about, metal, playing metal and rock, we want to make sure that it's, metal and rock on this page. If I'm talking about acoustic, we want to make sure it's acoustic on this page, right? So for our angles, we want to make sure, and this is so important, guys, like it's so important. We want to make sure that our angles match that page, right? So these 3 are different, okay? So we could run this, we could run these 2 different pages if we want, or if we wanted to, just keep it simple, right? Which I like simple. We want to make sure that these, again, these are just example purposes for different angles. I was showing you when we were creating the ad, the different angles. But let's just say that we're doing electric guitars, okay? So it would be, this one's electric guitars. The second one, instead of doing acoustic, instead of doing acoustic, we could do like our metal, like the metal, this right here. Let's just switch this out. I just don't want anyone getting confused, because I'm just kind of dropping these in, showing you how to set up an ad account, but I want this to be like straightforward so that no one's confused. Make sure it's original. And let me just show you kind of what I'm talking about here. Make sure that the music is off. Shut all this, make sure you shut all these off like we did before. I'm just gonna hit done and skip it. But here's the thing. We want to make sure, where's my metal? There we go. Let's come back over here. There we go. So the reason why I switched this up is because I realized when I was talking to you guys that we were sending acoustic and metal guitar people to that page, which, we only want one or the other, okay? We only want one or the other. So we could do ultimate rock and metal, okay? But you see, guys, how this matches now. So it's rock and metal, and we're going to a page, and we could just, talk about like specifically rock and metal here. We ought to make sure that it matches up. So I'm not even gonna put in that acoustic guitar one. And you can basically then just do the same thing for ad number 3. I'm gonna delete ad number 3 because, again, this is just an example. You get the gist, If you were, I'll give you some examples real quick. If you were a spa owner, okay, the very first ad that you could run here, my computer's running a little bit slow, but the very first ad, you might want to talk about like the types of massages, like neuromuscular massage, Swedish massage, sports massage. That would be like ad number 1. And then ad number 2, you might talk about like, different like discounts. So you talk about a little bit about the pricing, for example. Okay. So you could talk about like, hey, if you come in, you can get 50% off or something like that. Okay. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. We just want to make sure that our ads are being used as different angles, okay? So again, like if you were if you're doing landscaping, like one of our ads, we want to talk about, maybe a deal that we were giving away. Maybe it's like, if they sign up, they get like a month free or something like that. And then ad number 2, that would be like ad 1. Ad 1 would be like the deal that we have, like 1 month free. And then ad number 2 would be something like, instead of talking about like an offer or talking about the price or something like that, instead we can talk about, I don't know, maybe like we do commercial, like we handle, we've done landscaping for McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and like all these places, and we do commercial as well. And then maybe ad 3 would be like residential, like it would show pictures of like houses, like people's yards and stuff like that, and then their fancy house and everything. But you see how they're like different angles, okay? Different categories of people, right? So we just want to make sure that we have a different angle for every ad. We don't want all the ads to be exactly the same unless we're testing that, right? So, I went for rock and metal in this one, and then the second one I went for electric guitar, okay? And then when they click over to the page, it's going to match, what that is. So beginner friendly, we could even put in, just because I keep referencing it, electric guitar, beginner friendly electric guitar lessons, okay? So there you go. Let's hop back into Ads Manager. So again, I hope that makes sense. I hope I cleared that up, kind of jumping around a little bit. Next, I usually build the ads out first, and then I come back to the ad set level because of the next part here, And you could just follow this down. You could go through this and just kind of like go down each section if you want. But I like to create the ads first, because then what I do is I play around with the placements. I just jump right into the placements, guys. This is at the very bottom of the page at the ad set level. We go into placements, okay? Now, see, I hit edit there, and generally speaking, we want manual placements, okay? You could go with full automatic. This shows your ads every single square inch that Facebook has. So, if they have, like you're going to show up in search, you're going to show up on Facebook Messenger, all these different places here. I'll just scroll down to show you all of them. Like all this stuff is selected by default. We don't want to do that if we're first starting out with ads, unless we're doing like for scaling. That is when we want to, basically show our ad everywhere when we're scaling. So I'll shut all this stuff off. Just Facebook, just Instagram, or you could do just Facebook or just Instagram, one of the two. Usually when I set people up, Facebook plus Instagram, okay? But what I do is I shut all of these off, okay? Everything, just shut it off. We don't need to be in Reels and all these other places. The reason for that is because when our ad shows up in, like we can even look like Facebook right column. When we're talking about mobile, for any of these places, the ad is just so tiny you can't even see it or read it. You're just seeing like a little icon with maybe like the headline, okay? That's not good enough. We want to be in the full feed, okay? Like you see like if you're on a desktop or if you're on your phone, right? You get the full screen, okay? That's why we want the feeds. Facebook feed, Instagram feed. There you go. I would just stick to those two right there. Yeah, you could go with the profile feed as well if you wanted to. So hopefully that makes sense. That's why I usually skip over, because now when I come back to the ad itself, you're going to see the preview here. But you can go to advanced preview if you want. But you're going to see that this is what it looks like on Instagram. This is what it looks like on Facebook. So you don't have it in like 50,000 different places here. It's just very straightforward, and enough said. Let's hop back into the ad set level. So now that we have the ads created, we have the placement set up, okay? We have most of this done. Let's scroll down to the next part, okay? When I talk about Facebook ads to clients, there are 3 places that they get stuck on. It's the Facebook pixel, which we talk about inside of Funnel Visions. Now, when I have people on a live call, there are 3 things that almost everyone gets stuck on, and that's setting up the Facebook pixel, which we talk about inside of the Funnel Visions program, or you can YouTube it if you want. The next thing is going to be budget, and the third thing is going to be audience. That's why I save these for the end. Now, the budget. Let's just break this down real quick. People think that Facebook ads or any advertising platform ever is just way too expensive for their budget. And I'm here to tell you that that's wrong. Because at the end of the day, in most people's minds, like if you were spending $10 a day, in their heads, they automatically compute that that's $300 a month. I can't afford $300 a month. Like that's crazy. That's crazy. I don't even spend that on whatever you guys are buying, right? But you got to get out of that mindset, because that's not what's happening here. You're not going to be running these ads forever and ever and ever. In fact, you should just choose a budget that you feel comfortable with and then break that up, okay? So when I say break that up, we want to break this down into a specific time frame, okay? So first and foremost, if we're only spending $10 a day, we need to run the ads a little bit longer, okay? We need to run them a little bit longer over time. So maybe we run this for 14 days. Maybe we run this for 30 days. It's going to be a very slow process, because every single day we're only spending $10, right? So, we could spend $300 a day and just get our results immediately, right? Or we could spend $10 a day for 30 days and get the same, essentially the same data, okay? The one caveat with that is that no matter what price that we spend per day, we always want to run our ads for an absolute minimum of 3 days, preferably 3 to 5 days. And the reason for that is because Facebook has anomalies in it, right? It's testing with, the algorithm and everything. There's a lot of testing that is going on in the backgrounds that you don't see. Okay, they're testing different age groups. They're testing, different people within your audience. They are testing all sorts of things. And some days are going to be amazing, right? Some days are going to be terrible, though. Some days are going to be mediocre, and it's going to be all over the map. So that's why we want to run this for 3 to 5 days. So when we're looking at our data, when we're saying, okay, which ads are performing, which ads are not performing, we're looking at that over a time frame, 3 days, 5 days, at very least, like a very minimal 3 to 5 days, okay? If we look at our data, though, over 30 days, it's going to be much more accurate data. It makes sense, right? Like it's over time. It's an average, okay? You need to look at your data over averages and not on a daily basis. The same thing goes for budget. If you're only spending $10 and you run this for 1 day and you're like, well, I didn't make any sales. Well, of course you didn't. You only ran it for 1 day. You didn't give Facebook even a chance to pick up on who is interested in your offer, who isn't, right? Facebook's a smart cookie. They scan your offer. They're going to be looking at your opt-in page. They're going to be looking at the different types of people that are clicking. And then they're comparing that as well to all the other pages that are very similar to yours and who clicked on that, who bought, who opted in and gave their email address, that sort of thing. So for your budget, we want to make sure, obviously don't drop the mortgage on it or anything like that. Make sure, you have a budget set aside for this. But generally, when I set people up on, over the last, 1,500 calls or so, we're generally in the range from $10 to $25 a day. That's usually what people are spending. So if you don't know what to spend, $10 to $25 a day. Me personally, I try to spend as much as I can because I want to get the data a little bit faster, right? So, when I start my campaigns out, it's usually anywhere from $50 to $100. Not because I'm totally loaded, because I'm not. But I want that data as fast as possible. I want, if you just spent time building an offer, like you're probably a little giddy getting traffic to it, right? Like you want to see this thing go. So let it rip, let it go. You gotta, don't be worried about spending the money on it because you're collecting all the data on this. You're trying to figure out who's buying, who isn't buying. Facebook's going to figure that out. You need to trust in the time frame and the budget. And so that's all I'm saying. $10 to $25 is a good place to start, right? Preferably 25. Run that for 3 to 5 days, minimum 3 to 5 days before you shut anything off or make any changes, okay? I hope that makes sense, okay? If you don't have much of a budget, let's just say you can only spend $5 or $10 a day. Well, instead of running it 3 to 5 days, then run it for a little bit longer. Run it for a week or two, okay? Maybe 2 weeks. $10 a day, probably 2 weeks, okay? Preferably even longer. Now, another thing with budget is if you are, for example, if you're selling a physical product, okay? And the physical product, like, is, let's just say it's let's just keep it simple. If that product is $10, okay, like your the product that you're selling, whether regardless of what the profit margin is, because you have cost of goods, right? So if that's a $10 offer that you're selling on your landing page, right? You always want to spend at very, very, very minimum three times whatever your product price is. So it's $10, you would spend $30 minimum before you do anything, plus the 3 days, okay? 3 to 5 days, right? So, if you're only spending $10 a day, in order to get to 3x that's 3 days, okay? You can start kind of like looking at your data then. So I just want to make sure that you don't just shut these off prematurely and too early. If you're selling a $100 product, you should be running up to $300. And then, of course, make sure that's over 3 to 5 days, okay? So if it's a $100 product, we could just do some math here. If it's a $100 product divided by 3 days, that is $33 a day, right? So that's kind of like a quick little way of trying to figure out what to spend as well. For digital products, it's a little bit more tricky because you have the, it's 100% profit margin. So you have a little bit, you can change the price to kind of like whatever you want, right? But if you're selling a $500 product, right? Times, 3 days, and you're spending over 3 days, it's a much more expensive price tag, right? So for example, $500 product divided by a $500 product divided by 3 days, you're spending about $166 just to get up to possibly one, whether you make a sale or not, but essentially if you divide that up, it's $166 a day. So you probably should be spending in the range of $166 in order to see some results. And again, this is just like a rule of thumb. It's not, I don't know anyone that, there's anyone that really talks about this too much, but it's just like I have so many people that are trying to figure out what to put in here. Just put a number in and go with it. Just keep it simple, okay? 3 times the 3 times what you're trying to sell it for is a great place to be, okay? Add some time in there, 3 to 5 days. If you're like, say, like a small budget, 3 to 5 days. If it's a really small budget, like $10, run it for 2 weeks, okay? If you guys have any questions about that, I don't know if I did a good enough job explaining that, but if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to hit me up in the Facebook group that I have, and I'll try to clarify that a little bit better. But, try to run $10 to $25 a day. It's like the simplest way I can put this, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Now, so we have this error message here. This is, kind of goofy. The start date is in the past. We just hit the reset. There you go. Next thing, start dates and end dates. Never, ever, ever, ever put an end date. You can have a start date, but don't put an end date. Do not set an end date. Here's the reason why. If this ad starts doing really well and it automatically shuts off, the problem is that you can't keep running it. And if it's doing well, why would you not want to keep running it? Okay. You can't restart them either. You have to literally duplicate out the entire ad set and then rerun it. And the problem with that is that then you have to retrain the algorithm. It has to go through all the steps again. So you're going to get inconsistencies for the first 3 to 5 days, like I was talking about before. If you want, if you, instead of setting an end date, you just turn it off. There's a little switch and dial right here that I'll show you in a second, but you just turn it off. Okay. It's not listed there, but it'll be right there. Okay. So don't ever set an end date. Okay, guys, we're almost done here. The last 2 parts that I want to break down. Audience controls. So, where do we want to run our ads? If we have a digital product, do we want to go full worldwide? Should it be United States? Where should it be? Where should we run our ads? Now, if you're selling a physical product, this should be pretty straightforward. There are places you can ship to, and there's places you can't ship to. Enter the places you can ship to. Don't put in the places you can't ship to. Pretty straightforward. If it's a digital product, I always recommend starting with, usually your own country, but United States is like when I get people on the call, everyone is already shooting to the United States. We call these, you can add in the top 5, right? And this isn't like a racial thing or anything like that, but usually we're putting in the top 5 countries. The top tier, highest GDP countries is essentially what it is, right? So usually we go for the United Kingdom, United States, we go for Australia. If I can find it, there it is. I go for, who else? Canada. And then I also go for, sometimes I'll throw in, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Who am I missing? I'm trying to think of the name. New Zealand. Sorry, New Zealand. I didn't mean to forget you. So these are the countries that I'm usually going after, and we get a very, very large audience out of that. Okay. Now, when you're first starting out, especially if you're selling a digital product and you can do these top few countries, honestly, just stick with the US. Keep it simple. I'm saying look, if you have like a very small audience or you're very niche down and you're in like a very tiny niche of people, like let's just say it's spa owners that only are learning, want to learn how to like do neuromuscular massage. If like you're super niche like that, then you would want to do multiple countries because you need a larger audience, okay? But if it's like guitar lessons, you could just stick with the United States. It costs a little bit more for the United States, but the quality of traffic and it is better and everything is just usually easier, okay? Of course, test it. Test it later, but start with the United States. It's just gonna make your life a lot easier and then you don't have to deal with like weird taxes and laws and all that stuff, right? Stick with the US. Next, Advantage Plus audience. No, we don't want to do this. You can test it. This is like Facebook's, fancy little technology, the AI and the algorithm and all the voodoo. We just want, and they warn us it could be 33% lower, blah, blah, blah. We definitely want to use our own audience. We want to be able to do this ourselves. And the reason for that, guys, and I'll show you here why. If you go with, now test it. Now look, you can test it. Some people have good results with it. I personally do not use Advantage Plus. The reason for it is because I cannot select the age then. I can't break down my targeting exactly how I want to. I only want to show this ad to a specific amount of people. And if we've never ran Facebook ads before, Facebook has to spend a lot of money learning who our perfect customers, clients, and users are. Especially when you're first starting this out, you don't want to use something like that. Maybe later on when your pixel and your data set is warmed up and Facebook has an idea. When I say warmed up, Facebook kind of has an idea of who your perfect customer is. Then yeah, like maybe try it out, give it a test. I personally, every single time, especially on new accounts, I do not use that. I want manual selections. United States, yes. Age, think of it this way. The easiest way to do ages is, first off, just keep it above 18. I don't even know why these options are there. Just keep it above 18 always. Second, who's your perfect customer? Who is buying this product from you, okay? There's multiple ways that we could look at this, right? First and foremost, I'll tell clients, who has the money? Who has the money? If you're a spa, if you're a landscaper, do you think 18-year-olds are looking for landscapers? Probably not. They might be looking for a spa, but they're probably not looking for commercial work. They're probably not looking for solar. They're probably not looking for any type of high ticket products. Would they be looking maybe for guitar lessons? Yes, they might be. But if our program, after they come in, we give them the free lessons and we're trying to sell like a $2,000, $5,000 course, do you think many 18-year-olds have $5,000 to spend on a guitar course? No, they don't. So we have to, usually the age is kind of like based around like the price tag of your product, right? It gets a little trickier. Like if you're, you're looking for, let's just say parents, okay? And like you're selling like a children's book or something like that. You wouldn't be targeting the children. You'd be targeting parents, right? Like parents that just, that have kids in a certain range, right? So pick your ages accordingly. Generally speaking, once again, I set these up for clients almost always 25 to say 55. It's usually kind of like where I am. By the way, default is 65 plus, right? If you live to be 150 years old, just know that you're spending money showing people that are 150 years old. I don't know why it's a weird reference, but 65 plus really is infinite, right? So if you want an older age group, I'd cut it off at like 64. Okay, depends what your product is. If you don't know and have no idea what to select, 25-55. 25-55. Gender, up to you. Even if you have a gender specific product, you'd be surprised how many crisscrosses this can work. Like if you're selling flowers and you're like, no guys, well, flowers is kind of like a weird one, but it would be like, because it would work both ways. For example, it's Valentine's Day and you're a flower shop. Well, generally speaking, let's just say, I don't know how to put this these days. There's so many different acronyms, but husband and wife. Husband buys the flowers for the wife, right? And the wife might not be looking for flowers, right? So in that case, we won't just want to select that if you're a flower shop, that it would just be female, right? So be male and female. So you gotta really think about this for a second. Now, if it would be like jewelry or something like that, like women's jewelry, again, it might be male and female. So don't just exclude somebody because you think that. Usually people want to exclude right away. If it's something super, super, super tailored down to females or to males, then then go with it. Then just go with it. But I generally like to leave this open. You never know. People shop for people. There's birthdays and holidays and all this. You never know. So leave that as all genders generally, unless you and test it. You could test it and find oh wow, only men are buying this, and then you could duplicate the campaign out and then just select men or just women, right? That would be a much better way to do it with the data that you have already. Otherwise, you're just guessing. We don't want to guess. Okay, enough said, guys. This is the last part of this. This is the last part, and this is the number one thing. I'm saving it for the end. That's kind of why we skipped through it. This is the number one thing outside of the pixel probably and the budget that people get stuck on, the audience selection. Now, there are so many things to talk about in here, and this video is already so ridiculously long. So let me just quickly breeze through this, but give you all the key points that you are really going to need to know to selecting the correct audience for your Facebook ads. So number one, let me just give like an example here. I call it the coffee example. I've talked to over, again, 1,500 people. This is the coffee example. Always comes up. So if anyone is watching that's been on with me before, you've heard the coffee example. If we were selling a bag of coffee, okay, like our own fancy coffee, some kind of mushroom coffee or whatever you guys are blending with your coffee these days. We want several different audiences, not just one audience, but we don't want a blend of audiences. We don't want to just start coming in here and just adding 50,000 different things and stacking them all together. We don't want to do that. We want to organize this in a very specific way. So if we were selling coffee, the very first thing that would be, the most obvious would be what? It'd be coffee. We target coffee. The biggest, and this is like the largest group. This is the largest interest that is in here, right? So very simply, coffee. Now, if we look at this, the audience size is 41 million people inside of the United States between these age ranges. So why do we, again, like we could select now like all these different things, but that would just be like there's no good way of figuring out like if this ad set is good. Did they buy our coffee from this coffee interest, or did they buy it from like Starbucks interest or something, one of these other ones? We want to keep all of these grouped together, okay? So for this example, we want coffee and then anything extremely similar to it. And when I say extremely similar, there's nothing else that is going to be closer to coffee than coffee. I know that sounds silly, but like it's the root. It's the main niche is what I'm trying to say. So we want one audience as the main niche, okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to come back here in a second, but let me just stay with me. We're going to come up here. I'm going to label this coffee. Okay? And then I'm going to grab the audience size at 41 million, like that. And we can even, we can even put in, sometimes I do that. Sometimes I'll put in the age range, but very simple. Coffee, 41 million people. Okay, that is it. What I do next then is I come up to this ad set level right here where it says coffee 41 million, and then I quickly duplicate. It duplicates the ads, everything that we already set up today. And instead of coffee, what we're going to now do is we're going to go for the next most logical thing, okay? Which is kind of like a step down from this big, giant, huge 41 million person, extra broad. I mean, I drink coffee, you probably drink coffee. There might be someone watching that doesn't drink coffee, but there's all kinds of people in here, right? Super giant, massive niche. These days, Facebook likes the big, giant audiences, okay? And it works exceptionally well inside of specific niches. So we want to go after, we don't want to exclude one of these large ones. So next, let's delete, instead of coffee now, we want to hit suggestions. So what would be the next most logical thing? Well, it would be types of coffee, okay? So like, think about all the different types of coffee, and like, espresso, for example. So I click on espresso and then I delete coffee. It was just, it's so that we have this suggestion. This suggestion tool right here is your absolute best friend. It's built on AI and basically everything that is similar to whatever you type in here. So if we want types of coffee, now we can start seeing the different types. See how it like automatically knows? And it's because it wants us to group them together. So we can click on cappuccino, we can click on latte, we can click on iced coffee, we can click, now I wouldn't click on necessarily specialty coffee because that's kind of like outside of this, right? You don't walk into Starbucks and say, I'll take one specialty coffee. No, what kind? Is it a specialty iced, a specialty espresso? No. So what other ones do we have? Espresso, we can get into some of those in a bit, but you see what we have here. We have types of coffee. Still, really large audience right here, okay? 22.9 million. So now what we want to do here is we want to put in types of coffee, okay? 22 million, okay? And we can keep doing this, okay? So I'm going to duplicate this again for a third one. I like to start campaigns off with a minimum of 3 of these. Now this is budget permitting, okay? Again, remember when I was talking to you about the budget and I said like we had that talk about like how much to spend. Collectively, you could spend $5 a day on one of these, but it really would take you like all month to even get the slightest amount of data. But when we run 3 of these at $5 a day, we're spending a total of $15 a day, okay? So you gotta, as far as your budget goes, you have to, make sure that you can first off afford it, but second, it goes into how much you're spending over that 3 to 5 day period, okay? So usually, once again, I'll spend, when I set clients up, it's anywhere from about $10 to $25 a day. It's a really good place to be, but remember that is per audience type, that's per ad set. These are ad set levels right here where we're selecting these audiences. So you could start out with just one of these at $25 a day, or you could do $10, $10, and $10, okay? So just keep that in mind. This is called ABO, ad budget optimization, right? So essentially the budget is on the ad set level, not to be confused with a CBO or campaign budget optimization if you are in that realm. So again, hopefully that makes sense, but we're spending $10 a day for each of these. And we want to, just like our ads, remember how we had different angles. We had one for electric guitars, and we had one for metal, right? Metal guitars. We're doing the same thing with these audiences. We're doing different angles, right? So one is coffee, and slightly different angles. So one is coffee, one is types of coffee, and then the next one here, what would be the most logical thing? Well, we can go after coffee stores, right? Starbucks, Caribou, let's see what it has. Starbucks, right? And see how this says employers? This one says schools. We do not want that. We do not want job titles either. We want the interest, okay? The interest are people that are interested in Starbucks. Now, if you're selling landscape, or let's just say that you are a coach or a consultant and you are looking for people that work at one of these companies because you want to run their ads or something like that, then it probably wouldn't be Starbucks for them. If you want to run Starbucks as ads, you wouldn't be probably looking at people that go to Starbucks. You'd be looking at people that are that work at Starbucks, right? Job titles. So make sure that you take a peek at these. So this is an interest. So we have Starbucks. What do we do then? Hit the suggestions. And now we're looking for stores, right? We're looking for Dunkin' Donuts. Perfect, right? Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, Krispy Kreme, maybe. You don't just go to Krispy Kreme probably for coffee. Maybe you do. I don't know. Coffee houses, though, it's not a brand name because we're not, we could run that separately. Wendy's, that's interesting. Not really. Caribou, I think that's a Caribou Coffee. Yeah, that's a store, right? So essentially we're building all the stores, okay? 29. So now we come up here and we say coffee stores, right? 29 mil. Cool. So guys, coffee types, coffee stores. Now, if you're not selling coffee, what would this be? This would be, for example, you are, a massage therapist. I always use massage therapist, right? So this would be people that are interested in spas, massage therapy, right? So it would just be spas and massage. Type would be, let's just say, the types of massages right there, like sports, neuromuscular, Swedish, and you just stack them on top of each other. You don't do them individually. I stack them together because they're similar, right? We're categorizing these, we're grouping these together. And then the last one would be maybe like the stores once again, right? So it'd be like Massage Envy, Hand and Stone, and that sort of thing. And you can use this for any example. It doesn't always have to be stores. It could be, instead of stores, it could be books and magazines, right? If you are looking for CEOs or business like-minded people, instead of stores, you might want to target magazines like Inc. magazine or Entrepreneur magazine, right? Instead of the types of coffee for these entrepreneur figures, they would be like types of titles that they have. There's CEOs, founders, co-founders, right? So I want you to think about your audiences this way, and I want you to run your audiences this way. You can, set all these up if you want and just turn one of them on at a time and just run through it at $10 a day. And then after 3 to 5 days or so, then you could turn on the next one if you wanted to do it that way. Preferably, I would just run all 3 at once and for 3 to 5 days, bite the bullet, see which one works. And the ones that don't work, we shut off. So if coffee didn't do well, you just turn it off. So you have the switches, right? Turn off coffee, leave the other ones go. That's it, right? That is it. I hope the audiences, this breakdown of audiences make sense. Once again, if you have any further questions on this, you can hit me up in the Facebook group. I can go all day with this. My throat's going to go off soon here anyways. Again, this ain't no YouTube video. This is like the super in-depth. Craig just talks his head off, and I try to literally download my brain into your brain, and so you kind of see where I'm coming from. All right, guys, just real quick, I wanted to cut the video for a second and just break this kind of down a little bit further for local businesses. Now, obviously, if you're a local business, you're probably not selling throughout the entire United States. You just have one specific area or city or location, essentially, right? So let me show you this real quick, and then also how it kind of plays with the audiences and then the audience size as well. So for locations, instead of doing the United States, we obviously just want to, show our ads to the specific areas that we service, right? Now, there's a few different ways of doing that, and I'm just going to use like Tampa, for example, right? So let's say that there's a specific neighborhood up here, or, we want to do, instead of just doing like, I'll show you both ways. So we could just type in Tampa, right? And we could just target Tampa as a whole. So it puts this ring around the area that we selected, and we can adjust it right here. So we can go as low as 10 miles all the way up to 50 miles. This is a little bit more accurate if you do the drop pin feature, right? So like we could change this, but it can only go down to like, let's just say 10 miles. If you want to bring this even sharper, let's just say like a specific area or a neighborhood or something. Let's just say we want just this little area right here. We can actually do this drop pin feature, and then we can drop it. Let's just say we just want to target this little area right here. And now, we can go down to all the way down to 1 mile if we really, really wanted to. But the problem with this is, as you can see, the audience size drops way, way, way down, right? So now there's only 107,000 people. Now, let alone Tampa is a very densely populated area. That's why I chose Tampa. But if you live, let's just say, in a location like, I don't know, like Nebraska or something like that, like a city in Nebraska, and there's just like, you don't have that dense population there, your audience size is going to be much, much smaller. Now, keep in mind, too, that this audience size right here also plays into effect of the targeting options as well. So let's just switch this over to the original audience size. We don't use Advantage Plus. I mean, go ahead, test it if you want, but I personally like manual settings, right? Which is where I can control the age and the gender, and then also the targeting specifically. So, just for the purposes of this example, I'm just going to do, let's just say 25 to 55. If you don't know who to target, it's a good place to be. There's already yelling at us. Let's see, 55. So, it is, it's a, there's two. So it actually is, this is a good message. I'm happy that this is here. It's yelling at us because the audience is too small or too narrow. Only 77,000 people. They would be somewhat correct in there. They're saying, hey, increase the age ranges because then we have a larger audience. These days, guys, Facebook really does better in larger audiences. I'm just going to say that straight up. Now, it used to be somewhat the other way around where you could really hone in on a very, very targeted audience. But I've done very well just targeting business owners or money or massage or, just the top level of the niche, right, of the category that you're after. Like I said before, just recently, these ad sets up here is where your audience is. So we can do multiple ad sets just by, hitting the duplicate button, right? Or the quickly duplicate we could use. It's the same thing. So, we can, when you hit that duplicate, it duplicates all your ads in your settings. So you don't have to redo it. The only thing that you're going to change when you hit this, so you essentially hit quickly duplicate, and then you just come back to the audience settings, and then we put different things in the box right here, right? This is where we can essentially, in the example we use, this is where we can type in coffee and just target coffee, or just target coffee types, or just target stores like Starbucks and Caribou and Dunkin', right? And we want to group those together, like I was saying before. But when you're in a local audience, when you're in this smaller audience, where'd it go? Right here. Right? Just the Tampa Bay area, and this is just 1 mile, it becomes very, very small. Now, look, I can give you, if you're running local, try to be above, if possible. Try to be above at least 20, 30,000 people or so. It's best to be in kind of that range, before you run your ads. Otherwise, you could run into some problems. And really just one problem, and that one problem is there's just not enough people in the audience for Facebook to optimize your ads. It's trying to essentially show your ad to multiple people, figure out which ones opt in or which ones buy your product, and then find more of those people. But if the audience is really small, it has a hard time of trying to find similar people because there's just not enough people that are all interested in the same things inside of that very small audience. So let's just say, we can use, for example, we are a landscaper, and we're willing to drive out to our clients, let's just say 25 miles, okay? So we're willing to go from Tampa to Largo to St. Pete and all these areas in here. Now we have an audience size of 925K people, which is pretty good, Again, when you're running local, the more people you can get in this ring, the more people obviously we can show, the ad to, which would be, it's in our best interest. Now, keep in mind that we don't have anything in this box yet, right? If we're a landscaper, you could type in, and, I'm doing this wrong on purpose, landscaping. So you could target people that are landscapers. But remember, if I didn't point this out before, these are job titles, right? These are employers. You don't, if you're a landscaper, you're not targeting people that are in the industry of landscaping, right? So what we want is the interest. These are people that are interested in landscaping. It even says gardening right there. So these are people that are interested in landscaping and gardening. So you could try this one as your very first ad set, before you duplicate it out and test different audiences, this would be a great one to test first. Now, the audience size, if we come back up here and this is a 25-mile radius, people 25 to 55 or whatever you want to choose, all genders, and just interested in landscaping. And we have an audience size of 204 to 240,000 people. This is a perfect size audience. This is a great size to be in, especially for this area. If we increase this to 50 miles, obviously we have a much larger audience, right? And there's not that many people like out here. So that's why I didn't go up that much. But you see what I'm saying is you want an audience size that is big enough to essentially for Facebook to be able to optimize your ads. Now, these are, once again, I'll give you some, like some ballpark areas kind of for audiences. There's no one size fits all. All businesses are different. I've seen audience sizes work really, really exceptionally well, really small, like 20K people or 30,000 people in it. And it's just, really comes down to like your actual niche, right? Landscapers or landscaping in Florida, there's probably going to be more people that are looking for landscaping than, let's just say, somebody looking for, let's say, snow removal, right? Like no one's looking for snow removal in Florida. So it's going to be very hard to find those people because it doesn't exist, right? It'd be weird though. So, but you see what I'm saying? There's more people looking for landscaping. Same thing goes with, I don't know, if you are, name your niche, like pick a niche. If you're a barber or you own a hair salon, you probably are going to be able to bring in more people, into your business than, let's just say, landscaping or, the audience size is what I'm saying would be larger. And that's because every single person, most likely just about every single person, not everyone out there, but they need their hair cut, right? Versus not everyone owns a home and needs landscaping work done. So the audience sizes obviously are going to be different. So that's the first part. Now, I broke this down before in like different categories. Like coffee, like was the very top level. For example, this one is landscaping. It's the very top level. And then underneath that, we could go on, and essentially, like the first one I would do landscaping. I would duplicate this out or just quickly duplicate. All my ads will be there and all the settings that we already set up. And then you just want to click on the ad set once again, which is that middle level, and move back down to the audience, delete landscaping, and now go after the second one that you want to test out. Now, you can't, if we're a landscaper, we probably don't want, unless we're doing commercial or something like that, we want homeowners, right? You can't directly target homeowners though, unfortunately. So if you're in real estate or trying to target homeowners, or doing like a water test, like where you come into the home and test their water or something like that, it's essentially going to, be a little bit more difficult to target specific homeowners. But what you can target are stuff that is very similar, right? So for example, I've tested this with other clients. Maybe we target Teslas, right? And the reason that maybe we would target Teslas, and I'm not saying this is like a catch-all, this is just an example, but I want you thinking like this. So if you own a Tesla, you have to plug the thing in somewhere. If you live in an apartment, there's not all apartments have plugins, or like it's not probably a great idea necessarily to own a Tesla if you have an apartment. You don't have a charging area there, or you don't have anywhere to charge your car. So most likely these are people that own a home, right? So, if they own a home and they own a Tesla and the insurance is really expensive and the Teslas, cost a little bit more, it's more of like a premium vehicle. These people also have money that says as well. So it's like, okay, now they have, probably some expendable income. They own a home. This might be a good targeting option if you own a landscaping company. But again, you have to test it, right? So you can run this then at your like $10 a day or $20 a day or what have you. And then you can, once again, you duplicate it out. So we would have one for landscaping running at $20. We'd have the second one that's targeting Tesla for $20 and so on and so on. This is just example. If I was a landscaping business, I probably wouldn't jump quite quickly to Tesla. This might be like a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh option, maybe after I've gone through some different audiences. If I was a landscaper, I would probably, I might look at like gardening or something like that. I would probably not employers, not job titles, but actual gardening outdoor activities, the interest we want, because these are the consumers that are in the interest. Okay. So, and then you could just, as much as your budget allows, $10 a piece, you could just keep going. Right. So That being said, there's one other option that I do want to bring up too. So, the audience size, again, this is nice and healthy in here, but if we, again, I don't even know if I touched on it. Landscaping interests. Oh, this is landscape photography new. I thought I had it. Landscape. Interest, landscaping, gardening. Okay. So 204,000 people, right? So that's still pretty big, but you will get again, these are people that are interested in landscaping inside the small area, inside of this age range with these genders. You might get one, like an audience sizes that come up, like if you're in Nebraska or somewhere, who knows where else. This might be only like 5,000 people or 10,000 people, and it'll be yelling at you saying, hey, this is too small of an audience to run, right? So in that case, if you are in that, in that scenario, another option, guys, is called broad targeting. So what's broad targeting? That is if we just leave this blank, okay? So now what Facebook is going to do is they're going to run your ads, like the ads that we have set up before, and essentially they're going to run at their budget, the $10 or $20 a day or whatever we have set up here, and they're going to run those ads, they're going to run those ads within whatever radius that you have here between these age groups, between these genders, but now they're going to show the ads to everyone in that circle, okay? These are not targeted people, though. It's like putting up a billboard on the side of the highway. These are not targeted people, okay? But the thing is that Facebook will, it makes them targeted over time. Facebook, the algorithm, and AI, of course, is going to see who is clicking on your ad, and then it's going to try to find more people that will click on your ad. And as they go down your funnel, or they do a specific action on your landing page, for example, maybe they opt in, maybe they buy something from you, Facebook picks up on that, and then it starts showing that your specific ads to people in this area that are similar to that, right? So you should run this in your arsenal. So again, you could just click quickly duplicate and run this as an audience where there's no audience selected, these age groups inside of this area. And then your audience size will be much, much larger, right? So, you might spend a little bit more with this for those first 3 days, because Facebook's trying to figure out who the people are that are actually interested in what you have. But just keep in mind that this is another option for you, and that's why I wanted to include this in the video here. One other thing too is your pixel. We'll go over this inside of the actual pixel setup video in the very next video here. But your conversion event, we're going to select, and you'll see again. This we'll talk about in the next video, but whatever you select here, which most likely, if we're just trying to get like somebody to pick up the phone and call us or book on our calendar or make a sale, let's just say that, like we want them to book on our calendar. We'll usually select complete registration. Again, we'll talk about this in the next video. If we're trying to get a purchase, for example, we'll just click on purchase. But what this is doing, like I said earlier about the pixel, is that Facebook's trying to find people that do this action. So it's a little piece of code that we throw on your website or your funnel. And after they let's just say, complete a registration, which is after the calendar. So like they come in, they book an appointment with us. Our website then just tells Facebook, hey, we just got a completed registration. Go find more of those people, okay? And what it's gonna do is it's going to search inside of this area, right? To try to find as many people as the complete registration. Like go find more complete registrations. Go find more people that fill out that calendar. And it will start to optimize based on whatever we put here. Okay. Again, more on this, in the next video. But whatever we put here, it's going to optimize on that. Okay. So we talk all about it in the next video. So I hope you guys found that helpful. I just wanted to add in this extra tidbit. I think that it will help you guys out when you are targeting locally. All right. And back to the video. Another great way to set these up is when you come in. This is the campaign level up here. So we created that new campaign at the beginning of the video. So essentially you could just, come in, create your campaign. You go through, you add in the campaign name, and we'll just go over this real quick. It's kind of like a recap. So you create the new campaign. We always select sales. Remember when we selected sales when we created the new campaign, we put in a name here. Yep, there it is. So we selected sales, and then all this is off, okay? And then what we did is that in the very first ad set, before we had this other stuff down here, in the very first ad set, we came down, we wanted to make sure that website was selected. We then set up our pixel or a data set or a conversion API. Again, we have inside of Funnel Visions, we have exactly how to set up pixel data sets and APIs. This is the tracking. This is, and you got to run this, guys. I mean, you could launch the ad without it, but you're not going to know what the heck is going on and what ads work and which ads don't. That's why the pixel is important. You have to have a pixel because then you don't know what's working and what isn't. You're just going to spend money and you have no idea what's going on. So don't do that. Don't do that, okay? I talk all about this inside of the course, or if you really wanted to, you could watch a YouTube video on it if you want. If you want me just to set this up for you, you can hop into Funnel Visions and I'll just do it for you. So it's that straightforward. So that being said, dynamic creative, we don't usually want to run dynamic, not usually, I don't run dynamic creatives. I'm not even going to get into why. So leave that off. Budget, we talked about this a little bit. I kind of botched it a little bit because it can be a little tricky to explain because I need, like when I'm on client calls, they have a very specific product and I can very specifically help that person say, this is how much you should spend. If you come into Funnel Visions on this very first call and you're like, Craig, I have no idea how much I should spend on my Facebook ads, I can look at your very specific product and tell you exactly how much you should spend, or, of course it's your budget, so you could be as close as you want to that. But, coaching is going to be different than, if you're selling a coaching or consulting product, it's going to be very different than a physical product. It's going to be very different than if you're a local small business owner, if you're selling commercial landscaping, like it's very tough to give you a very straight answer on the budget. At the end of the day, if you have no idea what to spend on your budget, $10 to $25 a day is a great place to be. Run that for 3 to 5 days. After 3 to 5 days, you can turn off the ads that are not getting sales or leads and go from there. If you're selling high ticket though, $2,000 program, or if it's expensive, right? You're going to have to spend more ad spend, okay? You're going to have to spend more ad spend. Remember, as we talked about in all these videos, our goal is not to be profitable on the ads in the front. Which I mean by that is when we run an ad to this, you're not going to get profitable. You're just not. It doesn't matter how good you are. I can't even do it. Like the god of Facebook ads, Zuck himself probably couldn't do it. I guarantee it. Because when you run an ad, first off, it's costing you money, but when you run an ad to an offer, these people don't know you yet. They don't trust you. They have no idea who you are. They're not just going to throw money at you thinking that they don't know you. That's why we do the 4 to 5x VSL, video sales letters, right? Or just the training videos like the one that you're on right now, where you just teach the people exactly how to do something, how to play the guitar. And then after that, they know you a little bit. They're a little bit warmed up. Then it might be a better time to buy from you, right? And if they don't buy, you can, further educate them through email and send them more free lessons and maybe a Facebook group and just help them out. If you help people out and get them a desired result, they will buy from you. They just will. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because we're not trying to make money day one from the, we could make money day one, but we're not going to make money with Facebook ads on this very first page. If we're selling something for $7 or $37 or $97, it's very hard to break even, let alone making a profit. Very tough. So we do that with our offer after we warm the people up and after they know who we are. Hope that makes sense. 10 to 25, a good place to be. 3 to 5 days. Shut off the stuff that doesn't work. Keep the stuff that is working on. Enough said. End dates. We do not want an end date. I told you if you do that and it does well and then it shuts off, well, it has to redo. It all has to start over again, right? Next, we do not want to use Advantage Plus unless you want to test it. We use audiences as far as like individual interest-based audiences. We want location. We want ages, right? Doing it the other way with Facebook's defaults, we don't want to do that. So I want to pick the age. And gender, and then interest. I already talked to you how to break the interest down into 3 categories or more. You can have as many of these as you want, by the way. I know a lot of people get, like, how many could I have? 10, 20, 100? I mean, you could. I probably would still break it up in the campaign, like electric guitar lessons, and then everything is for electric guitar. Acoustic guitar lessons, everything's for acoustic guitars. Metal and rock, well, that would be kind of like electric. But you see what I'm saying? You could, break that down into different categories. It's more for your organization, not for the algorithm necessarily, okay? Last but not least, on the ad set level, we talked about how to set up your placements and that we want manual placements. And I just, Facebook and Instagram, or just Facebook, or just, whichever one you want, but stay in the feeds. Stay in the feeds. That's it for this page. And then jumping into the individual ads, just once again, this is just a recap. You're going to want to pick out your Facebook page, your Instagram page. You can just run to Facebook. You can just run to Instagram if you want. You don't have to use both. Okay. Then coming down, a bunch of yelling here, upload, format. You could do carousels and collections. Again, I run single images or a video. You could play around with carousels. I haven't had good luck with them. I just haven't. Maybe my carousels aren't as pretty. So other than that, website URL, of course, we want to make sure that the URL is put in and that it like when we do put in our URL, we always want to, I'm not going to do it here, but when you put in your URL, there's a preview button. Make sure you always click that preview button. You want to make sure that link is broken. Even if you think you typed it in perfectly, always double check it. Next thing is your text. We went over with ChatGPT how to create compelling copy that is based off of copy that is already working from the Facebook ads library. We our images are different, guys, but this is a demo. I'm not going to shoot a whole video for this right now, okay? But you have the idea. Make your image look very similar to the image here, okay? And these are all videos. If we typed in landscaping, there's probably a lot of images here. Okay, there's a lot of videos. Here we go. So these are like before and afters. Be very careful with before and after pictures. I would not recommend before and after pictures with Facebook, especially it's against the terms of service if you're in the not weight, but like health and beauty industry. So do not do before and after pictures. Again, if you have any questions, hop into Funnel Visions. I'll hop on a call with you for free, and I'll look over your ads for you to make sure everything works. I won't do the before and after. You can usually get away with it outside of the health industry, but I still won't. Facebook's very specific about that. But way too much copy. Running May 13th. So like these haven't been running really that long to get good data. The longer they've been running, the better, right? So those are the ads that you generally want to take a look at. So this is actually, believe it or not, this one, I like this one. There's no copy. There's no copy. 500 discount landscaping. I don't like the copy, but see, like this lady right here, she's like, it's like, what is this lady doing? She's like looking at a plant or something, like all surprised. Like I like this. It's probably doing well for them, but that copy is gross. So to give you a few ideas, we're getting off track again, like we always do. You got the copy in there. Make sure that once again, ad 1 and ad 2 are two different angles. If you are a spa, talk about the deals, the offers, the buy one, get one, the Mother's Day specials, whatever. And then in ad number 2, it would be like the types of massage, sports massage or neuromuscular massage or like whatever it is. Break them up. Go in 2 different angles, okay? Preferably 3, okay? We got that, okay. Headline. We use ChatGPT for that as well. We want to base our headlines once again on what other people are basing their headlines on, which this is the headline. Ready for outdoor gatherings. Transform your yard with a welcoming patio. Okay? That would be a perfect headline because we know, if we'd have to reset up our filter for like because this is still pretty new. But if the ad was running a long time and it's still active like we were talking about, this would be a great headline to use. We don't want to copy them. Run it through ChatGPT. Come up with something similar on your own. Don't just straight up copy them. That's terrible. Next, description we can leave blank. We went through a lot of this here. We can leave that. The enhancements don't have music in the background. We set that up so we don't, especially if it's guitar lessons, we don't ever want music in the background or image. That's weird. You got the website. There's that preview URL button I was talking about. and then our tracking. Just make sure this is checked, and you should be good there. Guys, holy cow. What a video. What a video. And I could go for hours more. Essentially, when you have all that stuff set up, hit this nice big blue review and publish button. I'm not going to do it because this is a demo, and that would be weird to launch guitar lessons, and I don't even play guitar. Maybe someday I will. But that is how you do it. I hope that this video has been extremely helpful for you. My voice is given out. I've been talking for probably an hour and 45 minutes on this. So I really hope that you got some really good value on this. I do hope to see you inside of Funnel Visions, because then we get to talk even further on this. And I actually get to, like, instead of just talking about it, I actually get to, like, show you how to do this, right? So if you hop on that call with me, you need some help with your Facebook ads, and you're like, Craig, I sell toothbrushes, I sell metal pens, I sell landscaping, whatever it is. I can customize your Facebook ads to your specific offer and just really get the ball moving, because if you don't have an offer up right now, which I know a lot of you watching this video, you don't, if you just get the ball rolling, get an offer up so you can start seeing results. That's all I want for you.